welcome to Be My Guest Today, hashtag BMGT. Our guest today is a woman who has spent over 2 decades shaping experiences, building brands, nurturing leaders, and opening doors for future generations of professionals. Sushma Gaikwad is an entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, educationist, breakthrough specialist, Dale Carnegie trainer, and NLP master practitioner. At a time when India's media and entertainment industry was still finding its feet, she emerged as one of the few women professionals helping shape the future of experiential communication and corporate identity. As the co founder of ICE Global, she has led the creation of innovative experiential strategies for some of the world's largest leading brands and conglomerates. Beyond business, she has dedicated herself to leadership development, mentoring senior executives, entrepreneurs, and emerging professionals to unlock their potential and lead with confidence. A passionate advocate for inclusion and women's leadership, Sushma co founded WomenCom, a platform that connects women professionals with opportunities, networks, and knowledge. Through her work with industry bodies including EEMA, FICCI, the Media and Entertainment Skills Council, and the Maharashtra Convention Bureau, she continues to influence the future of India's media, events, skilling, and entertainment ecosystem. Today, we talk to her about her extraordinary journey, the evolution of the events industry from a niche business to a powerful force that rivals mainstream entertainment, and why inclusion and women's leadership are essential to shaping the future. Please welcome Sushma Gaikwad. Hi, Sushma.
Hi. Thank you, Vinta, for a lovely, my God, very beautiful, lovely introduction.
So I know that, when you entered the media and experiential communication industry at a time when very few women occupied leadership positions. And when you look back, what were the biggest barriers you faced and how did those experiences shape the leader that you are today, Sushma?
So, thank you for this question. So I must say this, Vinta, at that time, there were, forget women as leaders, there were no women in the industry. It was way back in 1993. And at that time, when there were very different challenges back then.
Right.
There was no conversation of leadership, or there was no conversation of I need to rise to the top, because the industry itself was it was at an experimental stage. There were very simple concerns. That when I'm doing a night setup, I need to go to the loo. I mean, it was as rudimentary as that, right? Luckily, I live in Mumbai, so there was no issue about safety in travel in Mumbai. But if I had to travel out, which was to another city, which would have safety issues,
right.
The other challenge would be how do I get back to my hotel and be safe? And in the hotel, how am I safe in the hotel? So those are basic challenges. Leadership came much later, and leadership came quite easily. I really believe that we are in the media and entertainment industry, which has got a large populace. The population of women is high. The percentage of women is so high. I think the last time we know it was 53% were women, if I'm not mistaken. If I've got the percentage right, I will just check and I'll reconfirm.
Right.
Any which way, almost half are women, right? So leadership just happened. Yet it was, there was a little bit of nudging and prodding and pushing that was required. But it was not a conversation of men against women at that time. At that time, it was only a conversation of capability.
Right.
So there was no gender concerns back then in 1993, to be very, very honest, at least not in the event industry. Everyone was doing the best they can. Everyone was evolving the best they can. Everyone was pushing way ahead the best way they can. And there it was more about what can you deliver, how good you are or how excellent you are, and how do you measure up to a client's expectation? How do you make a brand real? Rather than how do I become a woman leader?
I get you. I think that was really, you're very right, because 93 is also when my first series Tara came, and I was just about 4 or 5 years old in this industry. So, what I remember of that time also is that we never ever thought about the gender perspective.
No,
We were probably the first generation women who were in the boardrooms and we had a seat on the table.
correct?
Prior to that, I remember my mother's generation and women before us, they had very different, they were teachers and they were front desk managers and they were like background managers, they were secretaries, etc. But actually sitting there, looking eye to eye with men in those rooms with a seat, very, very, like without even offering it, it was just assumed that we would be part of the whole process.
Absolutely. You didn't have to wait for a seat. You
Right.
took the seat. You were in the seat before that was offered to you.
Absolutely. And the men really cherished that. They
Yeah,
really enjoyed having us around and, giving a perspective that they had always thought was very different. So,
correct.
what changed? Why do you think this gender issue really came into happening around, I think, late 1990s and 2000s is where it kind of became an issue. People started discussing it and talking about it.
I really think I think two, three things. Yet, when you said this earlier perspective, I must tell you, there was this point in our industry, especially in the event industry, there was a point that there was one challenge. Okay, there was one challenge, and the challenge was not so much in the Mumbai, because it just came to me. I have to tell you, this challenge really existed. It was not so much in the western part of the country. Yet in the northern, Yet in the northern part of the country, there was a huge challenge that women were not taken seriously. There, the gender stereotypes existed. Yeah, back then as well. I'm not othering yet. It was a fact. So
Right.
there, if I would say, call a vendor and say, "Abhi tala carpet क्यों नहीं आया?"
हाँ,
आ रहा है, आ रहा है, आ रहा है, and they would string you along, right? And
हाँ,
also, they would not take you that seriously because you're a woman. And I was the only woman in those days. There was no other woman.
right.
And one woman in a sea of men, right?
I
And
know.
that's when I learned to speak the language, which was a male language.
Hmm.
Speak with that authority, change the tone, use a couple of swear words, become aggressive, which may not have been my regular nature, but I had to adopt aggression
Right.
in terms of personality to ensure my work was done. So, yes, that was I don't view it as a challenge. It was more of how you adapt to a particular market.
Yeah, actually, we didn't see it as a challenge. What you're saying resonates with me a lot because even I found my aggressive self and my uh, voice
Correct?
louder than what it used to be to get my work done because we were not taken seriously and often the guys would kind of say,
Yes.
हाँ कर रहे हैं, don't worry, हो जाएगा and all, and you also wanted to have your roll up your sleeves and be part of it, but they would want to do that work for you instead and make you sit on a chair and watch them do it. And they didn't like the fact that you also got down to like actually using your hands and doing something, whether it was
Yeah.
mechanical or technical or whatever it was.
Correct. They could not handle it. I'm sure for you as well, being the field you are. And
Right.
if I were in a banquet room, like we would sit and do setups. At no point of time at that point, I was with Wizcraft. And at no point of time was there any differentiator. There was no differentiation that
Right.
Sushma cannot do setup because she's a woman.
Right.
Absolutely not. Sushma will do everything that everyone else do because I was never a woman. I was a job role and I was I was delivering. I was a delivery mechanism, right?
Right.
So if I had to sleep in the banquet room, I would pull up chairs and lie down and sleep the way the labor would sleep. If I'm doing a night setup or if
Right.
I'm going to a stadium along with the boys, I would do that. I think it started changing because more and more women started coming into the industry.
Right.
Yeah, that's when the change started
And I think
happening.
at that point, the the shifting and the tilt towards adjusting with so many women, and women started threatening men in the sense that they could do their jobs and therefore they could oust them as well. That kind
Yes.
of
So
gave them a feeling that, oh, now we better be careful before they come and take over our places.
no, I don't know whether the women were threatening men or they were
No,
working hard.
men felt threatened, is what
Possibly. Yeah, again, I'm not sure about that, whether men felt that. I feel the men felt comfortable. If I do the men and women conversation, I think the men felt comfortable for women doing the roles of the hardworking, the roles of the multitasking, the roles of the doing the minutes of the meeting, follow-ups, project management. Think that those roles automatically fell in the women's lap.
Right.
Yeah. Especially in the management part of it. I'm not talking about the talent where you have anchors, etc. It's a different field. I'm talking about the management part.
Absolutely.
And also, what happened? More and more women came, and then a new generation came.
Yeah.
And with the new generation came a new mindset. So I'm from Gen X. Then following me was a millennial. Now the millennial had a different mindset. The millennial wanted to be seen and perceived as the leader. And that's when according to me, the angst began. And that's when the little bit of stereotyping started happening in the industry. And there are so many women in the industry. There are so many capable, wonderful women entrepreneurs in the industry. But if you take a look at it, even till today, they're not highlighted as the ones. There's always, you need to have a separate panel for women. If you see, there are many industry conferences even today that are completely only purely male gender. And nothing's wrong with that. Yet in an industry which has almost 50% of women, there should be 50% of women representing
visible.
the industry.
Right. Yeah.
So they're not yet viewed as entrepreneurs in their own right.
But you are changing that. I can see that through the work that you're doing. You're encouraging more and more women to join the force and kind of be seen and heard more than they are otherwise. But before I go to my next question, I'm very interested to know a little bit about your background and what kind of brought you to the events industry, and how did all that happen to you?
Vinta, we are of a generation that we don't go chasing anything. Everything came to us. What came to us, we did. Right? It just came to me on a platter.
Right.
Yet, before that, I started my journey as a professional at the age of 17. I was working from college only because I wanted pocket money so that I could afford kajal and pencil, and I didn't have to ask my middle class father, who was struggling very hard, to give me my extra so-called luxuries, right? Which would be a rickshaw travel. Before that, we didn't even have rickshaws.
Right.
Rickshaws came in the 70s. And so then at that time, it was like, okay, fine. And that's when I started. And then I put myself through graduation, a little bit through post-graduation. And I came back, and then I was working with IDB, that is the International Distillers and Vintners. And these young men came into the office to do a presentation. And there were three young men who entered. And one of the young men was the husband of my sister's best friend, who happened to be Virat Sarkari, who happened to be the director of this company back then, which was called Viscraft. And he came and he said, oh, and they realized that I'm a graduate, I'm a postgraduate, and I was like very excited. Why don't you join us? We are looking for people to join us. And I also wanted to do something different. I didn't want to be in that same box of whatever, brand and marketing and whatever else. I really wanted to do something different. And I was like, wow, how exciting. What do you all do? We plan parties. I was like, wow, isn't this interesting? Those days, plan parties, we organize parties.
We were more having parties and attending parties than planning parties at that time.
Yes. And I was like, wow, that sounds interesting. And that's when which we are going to come to is where corporatization began. So corporates started coming into the country. And this was one of their first presentations for corporate to do the corporate event. Right? And I was there sitting. So then I joined them. My dad was horrified that my daughter, after being educated so much, is going to plan birthday parties. He was horrified. I think he started imagining me sitting and blowing balloons. I don't know what he imagined. And he asked me 4 or 5 times to think twice. Are you going to really do this? And I was like, I just was excited about doing something new. That was the only thing. So I joined, and as soon as I joined, it was in 1993, and there was an Apache Indian concert which wasn't part of. And then 94 when it began full swing, and
Right.
that's when Bali Sagu happened.
Mm.
That's when Deep Purple happened,
I
and
remember
that's
that.
when
I was there at that concert.
1994. And that's when I realized, oh my God, this is adrenaline at its best. And then it moved on from being adrenaline
Mm.
to being understanding what this medium is about. We grew the medium. There was nothing back then. We had to go and beg people to give us work because they would be like, हम भी ऑर्गेनाइज कर सकते हैं हमारा वो डेकोरेटर करेगा
हाँ,
राइट
people
हाँ
you
डेकोरेट
make a call and वो टेंट वाला आ जाएगा और
हाँ
caterer
टेंट
आएगा,
वाला
हो जाएगा.
डेकोरेटर कर लेगा
हाँ,
आपको आपको क्यों वाई शुड बी गिव 17.65%. दैट वाज अ परसेंटेज बैक देन
right.
and we had to urge. So I found the whole thing very exciting. It
Hmm.
was a new media to something we were building. We had lots of very, very deep learning curve. And just to build something from scratch gives you such great joy. And that's how I evolved. And that was the story that was pre ICE Global, which was Viscraft. That was my Viscraft tenure.
Hmm.
And then in 1999, on the press launch of IFA, I was sitting and there was this joint venture that Viscraft had with Lintas.
Hmm.
And the person who was heading Lintas on that end, the Spock at Lintas was
Hmm.
Pramod Gaikwad. And he walked in through the lobby of, I walked in the lobby. He was waiting to meet me of Oberoi.
Hmm.
And we met.
Hmm.
And then there was no turning back because within
Marks
6 months,
also. Yeah.
yeah, we realized that we had a distinct vision. We wanted the same things of the experiential medium.
Right.
We wanted to create experiential campaigns,
Hmm.
and then that's when I said adios to Viscraft because and parted on good terms, of course, because they're my partners today,
Right.
and we set up Ice Global.
So I know you worked extensively with women professionals through WomenCom right now. What you're really, I think that's what you are passionate about,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
various leadership initiatives as well. In your view, what is the difference between simply having women in the room and truly creating environments where women can lead and take decisions, also thrive?
So this has, oh my God, now I hope I stay within the guardrails. Okay, this is my biggest pet peeve. There's a lot of tokenism that's happening right now, Vinta, and
Hmm.
it's such an amazing conversation that this question really strikes a chord. Because with the tokenism, it's all about filling the seat, having X amount of women directors because because this is the code,
Hmm.
right? I think really it's there's come a time that, and I'm going to come back a little bit about why WomenCom, because over the past while I've been an event professional for 33 years now. About 15 years ago, I really got into the field of learning and development. So while we have ICE Global, which is my event agency, we also have a division which is for learning and development. So I've developed myself as a leadership coach.
Hmm.
And I remember I used to be nominated to go and do sessions for leaders. At that time, leaders,
Right.
yeah, CEOs, CXOs,
Hmm.
D-suite, E-suite professionals in large conglomerates, which I shall not name.
Hmm.
And when I used to go into those large conglomerates, I used to go and deliver a session and come out. And when I used to do it over a period of time, a couple of women used to come to me and say, Sushma, like, do you take private coaching?
Hmm.
So it's like, why? No, because we need to be nominated to get this leadership training or this leadership coaching. We have to be nominated. Unfortunately, we are stuck. We're not growing in our careers, and there's no one to handhold us to grow in our careers. So that's when I started doing B2C coaching. So while I was doing B2B thriving, still by God's grace, it's doing wonderfully. I started doing B2C and specifically to harness women leaders. And this was nothing to do with gender, but it has happened to become about gender because it is the women who are getting stuck. While the men there are access to them for them as well, but there are very few uh, uh, learning interventions for women which are specifically guided towards women breaking through that ceiling.
Right.
Because with women, there's this entire psychology of women, there is background of women, there's an entire perspective that goes into why women can't break. There are stereotypes that women stay within. There is the box that they have created that we, because of cultural conditioning, we're staying within that box. And to break through that box, there's an intervention that's required for your mindset. Then comes skill. First is mindset. So that's when I started doing B2C, and then we saw the change, saw the transformation that was being affected by the lady herself. I was just a mere.
You were the nudging factor, the person who nudged and the person who kind of handheld the person, because when you don't have the confidence, all you need is someone to encourage you.
Correct. And you just need, and you're just a channel, and the person does, because the person to put your hand up and say, you know what, I need to be coached, I need to shift, I need to transform, takes a lot of courage.
Right.
The person who really wants to wants to learn, we undermine the courage that it takes to say, I don't know enough to grow. Right.
Learn and then perform as well. It's the person who's doing
it. To implement it. It's great amount of internal courage. So how do we build that courage? So that's when I started doing B2C. And then I said, you know what? This is no longer about Sushma coaching women. It is about women creating for themselves a community where they are enabled, where they can access this learning, where they can access this feeling of confidence, where they can grow, they can tap into each other's resources. Right. So it should not, where they can tap into other coaches. It's no longer only about Sushma, right? And at one point it happens, Vinta, that you really want to grow out beyond yourself. And that's where WomenCom was born. And that's when we started really looking at what more can we do. And now coming to your answers, I just wanted to get a sense of why this was born. And yes, this is the environment we want to create initially, of where women get freedom within their gender first.
Right.
Enable each other to feel a great amount of clarity, enable each other to propel each other to growth, enable each other to growth, push each other to growth as well.
Right.
And then be strong enough and have enough of a dialogue so that the environment around them, they feel confident enough and strong enough so that they can change the environment around them. And they're not apologetic for the seat that they're taking at the table.
Very interesting.
So the entire sense of guilt, when a woman is at the boardroom table, there is guilt that is attached to it. And that guilt is, my child is at home, my mother-in-law needs something, my boss, my super boss requires me to do this, there's a deadline on my thing, I need to go and get my vaccine done. I've not even managed to find time to do that. And there's this guilt, right? And this part is what is really holding us back. And that is what women leadership is about, to break that away and create an environment. And once we shift, Vinta, it is not about whether a seat is, and this is again, maybe I'm being a little bit too forceful. Yeah, this is not about being offered a seat at the table. This is not about taking the seat at the table. It is about you knowing for yourself, or me knowing for myself, that I'm good enough, I'm big enough. And then I don't even need a seat at the table.
I know. It's so lovely what you're saying. And, I'm also beginning to see that while you were doing all this, in those years when you were doing all this, as a leader yourself, and as someone who doesn't call herself a coach, but someone who was hand-holding other women get into this transformative mode, you yourself were struggling with similar guilt, similar issues, similar struggles in your own life.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you also had a son, you had a baby, you had work, you had responsibilities, and you were sort of straddling all these worlds simultaneously. And so what you were teaching, you were also finding solutions through your own existence.
Correct.
Speak a little bit about your own self and how you transformed, and then thought this is something that you want to
Yeah,
you know,
wonderful.
teach other people to also do.
Thank you. Thank you for this question. I think this is going to be the longest podcast of our lives, but
Why not?
so transformation is always a journey. It's never a destination. So it continues. I keep getting transformed, right? But it all began with a postpartum depression, which I had. And I've had depression since childhood. I never recognized it because our days, there was a conversation of, I know I sound so old when I say, but we didn't have time to be depressed.
Hmm.
We were too busy working.
Yeah.
And I feel bad that I didn't give myself time to be depressed. I
Hmm.
don't say this making light of it. It is a real condition of the mind, right? But we didn't have, and we didn't, and then what happens? It's suddenly, woof, because you've not dealt with it. Your entire world collapses around you. And that happened to me when I had my I went to postpartum depression. So when I went to the doctor and I asked the doctor, I said, blah, blah, blah is happening. And she said, you know what? This is clinical depression and you need to take pills, medicine. So I said, what is depression? So that's when she told me this is a condition of the mind.
Right.
And I realized that there was a lot of storage that had happened in my childhood and a lot of stuff that had been happening with me, which had created this entire space of doing so much I should do all this to escape Vinta, is what I realized over a period of time. I used to do 50,000 things so that I could escape and not tell myself the truth about myself. Right? And I said, now it is all collapsed. So what do? I need to figure out for myself, what is this mind? So it was I went on this journey for 15 years to look for the mind. Well, I found the mind because that's when I did neuro-linguistic therapy. I learned journey, falana, dimkana, sab kiya. I said, okay, mind now. Mind is connected very directly to the emotion. So what is this emotion? And how do I tap that emotion? And that's when we go into no ego retreats and stuff like that. And then I realized, this is also very, very, very linked to your body. So I need to get fit. And that's when I started getting fit. And then when I got fit and started realizing that, there is something much bigger to it. And which is something that is a consciousness that's connected. And that I started understanding what is this consciousness about, right? So everything is interlinked. Now, what was the beautiful part of it, Vinta, is that while I started unlocking, so first was the mind and neuro-linguistic, I said, okay, now this is keeping it to myself is not enough. Let me see who I can enable. So I became, and I just for a lark, I went literally for a lark, I went to a Dale Carnegie training to become the trainer of Dale Carnegie. Why did I go? Because I had decided to do this. So I said, if I'm going to get trainers aboard, I should understand the field so that I can enable those trainers to do what they want and I'll get them the business. That was my plan. When I went for Dale Carnegie, they said, you should be a trainer. You're a born trainer. So it so happened that as I started unraveling the mind and the emotion and my consciousness and spirit and body and spiritual self started enabling each other people with those modalities.
Wow.
So I grew along with those I was coaching. So if we actually think coaching is a one-way street, it's not. The person who is really sharing the knowledge grows manifold because of the person who has who's come to them as a client, because that person is enabling me to understand more about myself and unlock other aspects of me that I may have not seen through their problems. So it's always a give and take. It's a two-way street. So those of us who think we're helping others, actually we are getting help more. So that was my entire journey with transformation in that sense of the word, which continues, I think, till the day I die. We call it transforming.
Yeah. I think you never stop realizing that there's still something more to do to feel better, to get better, to do better, to act better, and all of those things. I feel that all the time. I mean, every time I'm like at this juncture where I feel that, I achieved this, I already have seen so much more that I've yet to go forward for.
Yeah. And I love that about you, Vinta, the fact that you are always, you're always looking at what more value can I add, what more can I do, what next step can I take.
But you just explained it to me. I just realized myself while you were talking. We just keep doing things to occupy that time and avoid the real questions, which also somewhere I've now started confronting myself because I've always just buried all my questions and truths about myself. And for that, I've kept myself so busy that
Correct.
there's no time to think. But
Correct.
I can understand. I didn't have a baby. So you had one. And I think that was one big dramatic moment in which you had no choice but to go through that
Yeah,
postpartum.
it was his biggest gift to me. So yes, I did. And now if you ask me, do you multitask? I absolutely don't multitask. I do everything together. I do whatever is important
Hmm.
at that point of time. There is clarity on what I need to do, clarity on what I need to deliver for the day.
Hmm.
And I've got to ensure that all five areas of my life are 100%.
Wonderful.
All the five areas of my life, I have to do justice.
Hmm.
So if one day one of the areas fall, I make it my like mission for the next day to ensure I cover it up.
What were the defining moments that transformed events into a major economic and cultural force, according to you? Because you've taken this curve.
First of all, there was an influx
Hmm.
of MNCs in
Hmm.
'94. The Deus came in,
Hmm.
LGs came in, Smirnoff, Malibu, blah 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 came in.
Hmm.
All these guys started coming into the industry.
Ah.
Now, when they came into the industry, the
Hmm.
name event management was born. We used to call ourselves show organizers.
Oh.
Then we started realizing इसको events बोलते हैं,
Ah.
event management बोलते
Ah.
हैं. Right? That's when event management was truly born
Right.
in '94. As an industry, it was when Bon Jovi started coming in. Michael Jackson in '96 started coming in.
Again,
That's when the world saw India started seeing slowly, slowly. It was a very
Hmm.
slow boil. It has happened over the past 33 years.
Hmm.
93 being the defining year. The slow boil happened and the world started saying, oh, you know what? There's a market of people in India. Now, what has happened? As India has grown over a period of time, then after that, while MNCs did it, now Indian companies can't be left behind. So
Hmm.
that's how corporate events started growing.
Hmm.
That's when corporate events started growing, and then the nature of brand activation came up. You remember mall activations, etc.
Yes.
That's the time between in the 90s to
Hmm.
mid 2000s was corporatization of the event industry. Corporate events happened, like
Right.
dealer shows, idhar jate the, we used to go to Nepal, what we call now destination.
Hmm.
That are no words, it's just go abroad, take people abroad. MICE.
Hmm.
That's when the MICE industry happened. That's meeting incentives, conferences and exhibitions. Yeah?
Wow. Wow.
Right? Now, this is literally, I'm giving you a milestone of events.
It's
Yeah?
lovely. Go on. Yeah.
So that is when the mile. Now, simultaneously in the 90s, there were a lot of weddings that happened.
Hmm.
Diamond merchant weddings. Those people sitting in Belgium who were getting married in India. And we were doing the weddings. There were weddings that were happening in Bourbon Stadium. I've been part of it. My Ibiza was part of it, right? We were flying in orchids from Bangkok because orchids were not available in
Wow.
India.
Hmm.
The flower industry started developing. They started creating orchids in India. You're getting it, the correlation.
Right.
So while this was happening, your travel industry started thriving.
Hmm.
Flowers, we started, the light guys started importing lights.
Hmm.
Video guys started importing videos. Earlier, we used to have a projector.
Right.
What do you call 3 something project? 3 light hua karte the projector,
Huh.
right? And then we started getting things like lasers.
Hmm.
So imports started happening. The market started opening up to globalization.
Right.
Now that's where it shifted in 2000.
Hmm.
In the year from 2000 onwards is where we can start tracking the globalization of Indian industry,
Okay.
where we started doing foreign conferences in India.
Hmm.
We started getting foreign clients, right?
Mhm.
Now that was the whole globalization piece.
Hmm.
But what happened is slowly and steadily, it went into now. It's come into weddings, you have mice, you have concerts. Sports started getting recognized as sportainment. So it was no longer sport. So you got the IPL coming in the 2000s, where it all became about entertainment. So entertainment and sports tied in, and it became sportainment. And that's when that entire sportainment industry boomed. So now you've got mice, you've got weddings, now you've got added sportainment into it. So when you could normally just go tuk cricket, you've done IPL, you've got the cheerleader women, you've got Big Bang opening ceremonies, then
And
you've
big
got
parties.
Commonwealth. Yeah, then you've got Commonwealth coming to the country.
Yeah.
And that's when the entire space started getting redefined. And then with the government starting to take an important role in pushing conventions and making sure that the economy becomes event ready, giving adequate spaces. So venues started getting event ready, banquet rooms. So now everyone started getting event ready because they started seeing the power of the money. Now what has happened with the Honorable Prime Minister talking about events, talking about Wed in India, talking about ensuring that making sure we have very high,
And building
quality
infrastructure.
infrastructure
Yes.
ready, getting the infrastructure ready to host events.
Right.
Now the government has also opened a live event. There's literally a live event development the LEDC. Forget the full form, has been created to enable the live event industry.
Okay.
Now, when something like that happens, a committee like that of high-powered government, like we have all the states coming in to see how can we get live event ready, the industry is only going to thrive. But while that is happening on government and industry level, there's something else happening. And that is the consumer is ready.
Yeah, I was just going to come to that question where where we are talking about all these things, sporting events, music festivals, conventions, live experiences, all these things command audiences and revenues that rival blockbuster films today. I mean, today you can have an event, Sushma, which is far, far bigger than a blockbuster movie.
Correct.
In its revenues and profit loss and whatever else that is concerned. And unlike movies, most of these events are successful. They don't flop, right? In some cases, they continue to generate engagement years after they happen, right? Like IFA, for instance, is an example. It's year after year, it has just grown bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's a never-ending story which is going to go on forever.
Correct.
Why do you think audiences increasingly value live experience? And what does that mean for the future of entertainment as a whole? Because live experience is something that's becoming much more exciting than going into a recorded experience.
Correct.
Because that's become so easily available to us to turn on Netflix, turn on Amazon, watch a movie, go to the theaters. It's become mundane.
Correct.
Whereas if you give me the tickets to a rock, people are paying 50,000, 1 lakh rupees for a ticket.
45,000 rupees, for a rock concert. Can you imagine?
I mean, here there are people complaining that, the movie tickets are too expensive. And therefore, people are not going to the theaters.
Correct.
And nobody is like talking about those stadium full of people at 45,000 rupees a ticket. So why do you think there's that hunger for live experience? And
so this is, I'm 100% sure. So I don't even think I know why it is. I'll tell you what has happened. Now remember, I talked to you about Gen X. Then you got millennials. Now you have Gen Z.
Right.
Now, what has happened? There are multiple things that have happened. Like our consumer palette has shifted. Now, why has it shifted? The Gen Z has got something since birth that neither the millennials had nor you and I had. And that is access to social media and assault on the senses. Now, what has happened is because of this assault on the senses and access to information at a very broad scale, the attention span of you, me, millennial, and Gen Z has collapsed, reduced tremendously. Now, what will retain your attention span is when you engage all your 5 senses. All 5. And events is the only medium that enables you to constantly engage all 5 senses. Hence, there is an automatic adoption of this media. It has been a 44% growth. It's the only media which has recorded a 44% growth according to the EY Media and Entertainment Report, published right now.
Unbelievable.
44% growth. It's unbelievable. Because of this is the critical reason, is from a unidimensional experience, a multi-dimensional experience is preferred.
Hmm.
And with a multi-dimensional experience, what happens is immersion happens.
Huh.
With the immersion is what captivates and enables the attention span to lengthen for those who are engaging in that medium. That's point one.
Hmm.
Point two, when these concerts and all are happening, Vinta, there's a great amount of FOMO that is created because there is spending power,
Hmm.
which was not there in the generations before. Because now, with the spending power and the FOMO that I will miss out,
Huh.
it's driving adequate amount into the live concert and the live event industry experience, right? And the third is being well traveled.
Hmm.
Also, our new generation, at least the cosmopolitan generation, is
Hmm.
extremely well traveled. And with this phenomena, like you know, there are YouTube fan events, etc. There is
Hmm.
the birth of influencers. And
Right.
with this influencer marketing that's feeding into this funnel, there is a live engagement of online audiences who want to go offline
Right.
because you've got the influencer funnel that's coming into play.
Hmm.
So it's no longer कि event किया stage sound light video बनाया.
Ah.
Now it's no longer about that. A person who's doing an event, which is in a live event, you've got to know, understand social media. Now you've got to understand digital optimization. You've got to understand influencer marketing. You have to also understand how to fill those seats. Then you also have to understand how to make brand experiences real. And then you also have to understand engagement. Can you imagine?
Wow.
And now you also need to ensure everyone is safe. So it's become like this whole, like it's become more well-rounded, which is superb. I think it's wonderful.
It's the last thing you said suddenly like shook me is that you also have to make the environment safe.
Yes.
And that
Yeah.
must be a very big responsibility on the shoulders of companies
Which
like
is not yet being taken that seriously because see, we have to also understand the live event industry is not restricted to the 4 or the 6 metropolises.
Hmm.
The live event industry is also present in
Hmm.
B tier
Hmm.
as well as C tier towns,
Hmm.
right? Second tier, third tier towns.
Hmm.
So over there, the concept of safety does not exist
Hmm.
because they're still where we were in 93.
Right.
So it's still emerging, it's still evolving. So yeah, that is a critical part, which now, associations like EMA and a lot of these associations are paying a lot of attention to creating of like there are many of my colleagues in my industry who are really committed to driving safety in the industry
Right.
because that is this paramount
Hmm.
because we've seen what all has happened whether it's Push with Kumbh Mela, whether we've seen, I don't want to name all those events,
Hmm.
yet
I get it.
safety
I get it.
very,
Yeah.
very,
It's
yeah,
become very important worldwide. It's not just an Indian phenomena. I
yeah,
think worldwide it's become one of the primary objectives of any
of any,
organization, in
yeah.
that sense.
So the
And
future, the
yeah, yeah.
future, the you were asking me the future that I can see is a future of who is the next, what's going to happen to this industry? It's going to evolve. It's
Right.
going to go where it's sad that I'm saying that very soon event managers will be a little bit redundant because everything will be process driven. Yeah, could be process driven. So unless you have something which is very, very very interesting to add,
Hmm.
it's very important to know that there is something you need to create, which is a USP, an event manager. Number two, with AI coming in,
Hmm.
there is a huge shift in requirement of manpower because what would take a human being a
Hmm.
good day to make a project sheet or make a cue sheet, AI
Happens in
takes a few
minutes.
seconds. A
Yeah.
few seconds. So there has to be whole reskilling for the event industry. That's a big thing.
But I do realize one thing that evolution will become so much faster because of this, because we've
Yeah,
entered the era of incubation now. Because
correct,
every idea that has been done is now fed to the AI systems, and that
correct.
kind of multiplies for people to do it over and over again.
Yes,
New
yes,
idea still, that's the human mind which has to think of the new idea and then test it before driving
correct,
it, right? So
correct.
that's what will become our jobs in the coming future, is to like keep
Yes,
creating new new sort of amazing ideas, building them, proving that they work, and then AI is going to take over and hand it over to 1,000 million people all over the world.
Correct. So that's another
We
big
are
wave
going.
that's coming. We have to learn to adapt and optimize it and utilize it. Like you said, it's the next big wave. The
Yes.
third is a whole new field. I really predict there's going to be this whole new specializations. Like it's going to be completely special. It's already getting there. Specializations and micro specializations. From macro, it's going to be micro. So true
Right.
specialist. Like you can see it happening, right? A
Hmm.
stylist, a specialist,
Hmm.
a wedding manager who is only focusing on the vidhi,
Hmm.
only on the vidhi. Yeah, yeah. Those type of specializations will be born.
Hmm.
And the fourth is like safety, etc. These are new fields that are now already birthing. Safety consultants. Abroad, you have a lot of safety consultants. Here,
Yeah.
you don't. Yeah.
Beyond being the right thing to do, how does diversity and inclusion strengthen creativity and business outcomes in industries built around human experiences?
What is an experience? An experience is that when how will you take an experience home? Is when you feel that that experience belongs to you.
Right.
It has touched me. Now, how will it touch me is that if you understand who I am and you've created that experience well enough to touch me. But if you don't know who I am and you don't have the insight on your target audience
Hmm.
and who I am, what are the things that will touch me?
Hmm.
Now, how will you create an experience that I will take home and be with me for years to come? Because end of the day, experiences are created to be memorable,
Hmm.
to be long lasting.
Hmm.
And the most important is to feel like it is one with the TA.
Wow. Hmm.
No? So it'll happen only when input from all genders happen.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that is one. The when it comes to skilling, I think skilling is one of the biggest gaps that the event industry has. 44% recorded growth
Hmm.
with only gig economy to support it.
Hmm.
Only freelancers to support it right now.
Hmm.
Yeah. Now imagine what is happening to event agencies. You need those, like they are in need, but there is nobody joining them. And there is this whole new trend which gig economy kids today prefer to be freelancers, what we call freelancers. They rather be gig workers
Right.
than they build a career.
Hmm.
So that shift in a gig economy becomes much more important for those gig workers or the gig contributors to
Hmm.
skill up.
Right.
Because in a company, what happens, Vinta, you know and I know, when somebody's in my company,
Hmm.
I become the mentor for that person. So their career is what their career trajectory is in my hands. So I enable them to learn, to upskill, to grow, to have higher retention, push them to excellence, get quality work out of them, enable them to expand as a human being, right? Now, in a gig economy, none of that happens because the freelancer will come, he will do his work, and he will go. So, who will mentor that freelancer? Where will he understand, you know what,
Hmm.
this is a new safety protocol that I need to adopt?
Right.
Or, you know what, this is a new, it's very simple. This is a new management technique I could use. Or maybe I could use AI to do this faster. This is the tool I can use.
How do you skirt these issues when you're creating a project that people have, like sentimentally hurt ho jayenge, yeah, you're like, if you're doing a particular thing, another religion might take offense to it. There's so much of that happening which was not there in the earlier years when we were growing up and doing work, right? Hmm.
You check and you recheck. Like we did the Global Maitri Festival.
Hmm.
10,000 people came to one small village in Jamaru. It
In
is a small village in Jamru, in Karjat. That
Okay.
is a village which didn't even have roads. A part of it was roadless.
Oh, wow.
And we were doing a spiritual event for Maitribodh Parivar,
Hmm.
and we did it in Jamru. It
Hmm.
was 8 months of planning.
Hmm.
And every time we're planning, we sit on the table and say, what can go wrong?
Providing water, providing food, providing everything. I mean, with
Traffic congestion, We would go, the team, as in Vegetable Parivar, Pramod, my Ice Global team would go round and round. I'm telling you, I'm not kidding. I'm not over exaggerating.
I agree. Yes.
We have taken drives
Mm.
across the gowns, up and down, at least 8, 10 times for a recce to see that any emergency, what is the exit route from this gown?
Ah.
What is the route the people should come? Where do they sit? What is the experience of people? It's in the night. They're going to go in the night. Are there enough lights or no? Then we would make sure we had halogens on the road because it's gown. Light nahi hai. And you're getting, and now गांव में इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कहाँ से आएगा? जेनसेट को लेके आना पड़ेगा. पानी कहाँ से आएगा? This is a गांव. Then we made sure 8 months before that there was a bore well. They created water. They put taps and enough taps for water for them, drinkable water. So when you plan in advance and you plan well enough, and we got, Vinta, we got 10,100 people came.
Wow.
And you know how much time it took for them to, there were about 32 buses that came from Satara, from Falana, from Dhimkana, from the most amazing places across the country. They've come from Aurangabad, Satara district, from Goa. 32 buses, making sure that they were given food. What can go wrong? Drivers will want to eat food.
Yeah.
This is a gaon. There's no one giving them food. They will get upset. They want to go to the loo. What do? We'll provide mobile toilets for the drivers. This happens when you really plan. And then after the event happened seamlessly by God's grace. And it took 47 minutes for 10,000 people to leave.
So if you had the power to change one thing immediately about the way India nurtures talent, leadership, and opportunities for women, what would that be and why?
I think stop saying the word women empowerment, first of all.
Okay.
Gets my goat. Nobody needs any empowerment.
We are empowered. We were born that way.
Powering ourselves. We've been born. We're Shakti. We don't need any empowerment. Thank you very much. Yeah. I don't think we need a seat at the table. Nobody needs any handouts yet. I think it's very important that society really understands the value that women bring to the table. And the fact that we're not asking for special concessions. Yeah. Ensuring that we're not seen for being women, seen for the job and the role that we play, and how well we're working with it, and enable that to go ahead.
Right.
All this, whatever we do in the boardroom, is besides the point. It comes down to what are we doing in our homes, because those in our homes are going to go and occupy a boardroom one day. And if we when my son Joshua was born, Vinta, it's my only focus. I'm telling you, I went mad with that focus on how do I ensure that this child is a person who will only build this society and not destroy it. And I'm saying this very conscious, Pramod and I am. How do we make sure this child will build society and not destroy it? How can we ensure that he will be a contributing member to society, contribute to other genders, contribute to, and not in these words, but building society was our words.
Right. It's very important to be curious, and it's very important to ask questions.
Correct.
And it's very important to have a counterpoint of view.
Correct.
And these can't be, you can't say this is being rude.
Or aggressive.
It's not being rude. They call you aggressive for asking questions. So that's the kind of barriers that I think we still need to deal with. But having said that, I think this is one of the most riveting interviews I've done, Sushma. It's beautiful and you've spoken so well. And you've opened my mind to so many things which I was completely unaware of. I just
thank you.
That you go places with your thought process and, spread your knowledge and your understanding of things more and more, because I think you'll just end up contributing hugely to making a much better world. So
thank you so much.
I have to say thank you for taking the time out and having this conversation with me.